Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Terra Nova and watched the stars. For 6 months, his ship had been exploring space beyond Earth's solar system. They had found new planets and strange worlds, but no signs of life, until today. "Captain, we have something on the scanner," said his officer, Lieutenant Tony Miller. "It's big, really big." Jake walked over to look at the screen. A massive ship appeared in front of them. It was 3 times the size of the Terra Nova and looked like nothing humans had ever built. The ship was dark blue with silver lines running across its surface. Strange symbols glowed along its sides. "Try to talk to them," Jake ordered. Before Tony could send a message, the alien ship spoke first. A voice came through their speakers, speaking perfect English. "Human vessel, you will stop and prepare to receive a representative of the Galactic Council." Jake felt his heart beat faster. First contact with aliens. This was the moment every space explorer had dreamed about. But something in the aliens' voice made him worried. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth ship Terra Nova. We come in peace and wish to establish friendly relations." The alien voice replied coldly, "Peace is not your choice to make, human. Prepare for boarding." A small shuttle left the alien ship and moved toward the Terra Nova. Jake ordered his crew to meet their visitors in the main cargo bay. He put on his best uniform and tried to look calm, even though his hands were shaking. The alien shuttle docked with their ship. The airlock opened, and 3 beings walked through. They were tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large black eyes. They wore dark robes that seemed to move on their own. The leader stepped forward. "I am Ambassador Vexstar of the Zephyrian Empire, speaking for the Galactic Council. You are Captain Morrison." "Yes, I am. Welcome aboard our ship. This is a historic moment for both our species." Vexstar did not seem interested in making history. "Captain Morrison, your species has violated the most basic laws of civilized space. You have developed faster than light travel without permission from the Council." Jake was confused. "Permission? We didn't know we needed permission to explore space." "Ignorance is not an excuse," Vexstar said. His voice was cold and hard. "For over 10,000 years, the Galactic Council has maintained peace in this galaxy. We do this by controlling which species can travel between stars. Young and violent races like humans are not allowed to leave their home systems." "Violent? We're explorers, not conquerors," Jake protested. Vexter made a sound that might have been laughter. "Your species has fought wars for its entire history. You have weapons that can destroy entire planets. You are exactly the kind of race that the Council was created to control." Jake felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "What do you want from us?" "The Council has made a decision about humanity," Vexstar announced. "You will return to your home system immediately. You will destroy all ships capable of faster-than-light travel. You will stop all research into advanced space technology. You will accept permanent confinement to the Sol system." "And if we refuse?" Jake asked. Vexter's black eyes seemed to grow darker. "Then the Council will cleanse your system of all life. Your planet will be sterilized. Your species will be extinct." "This is not a negotiation, Captain Morrison. This is an ultimatum." Jake stared at the alien ambassador. Everything humanity had worked for, all their dreams of exploring the stars, would be over. They would be prisoners in their own solar system forever. "How long do we have to decide?" 30 of your Earth days. We will escort your ship back to your home system. You will deliver this message to your leaders. The Council's decision is final." The 3 aliens turned and walked back to their shuttle, without another word. Jake watched them leave, his mind racing. He had to get this message back to Earth as quickly as possible. The journey home took 2 weeks. During the trip, the alien ship followed them, never getting too close, but always visible on their scanners. Jake spent the time writing detailed reports about everything he had seen and heard. When the Terra Nova finally reached Earth, Jake immediately contacted Space Command. Within hours, he was sitting in a room with the most important people on the planet. President Linda Carter sat at the head of the table, her face serious. Admiral Pete Johnson, the head of Earth's Space Defense Force, looked angry. Dr. Amy Foster, who had helped develop humanity's first faster-than-light engine, seemed shocked. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly," President Carter said. "These aliens want us to destroy our space fleet and never leave our solar system again." "Yes, Madam President," Jake replied. "They call it the Galactic Council. 12 different alien species that control who can travel in space. They think we're too dangerous to be allowed out." Admiral Johnson slammed his hand on the table. "Dangerous? We've never attacked anyone. We're explorers, not invaders." Dr. Foster spoke quietly. "It doesn't matter what we think we are. What matters is what they think we are. And they've already decided we're a threat." President Carter stood up and walked to the window. She looked out at the blue sky of Earth, knowing that somewhere beyond it, alien ships were waiting for humanity's answer. "What kind of weapons do they have?" she asked. Jake swallowed hard. "I don't know exactly, but their ships are massive. The one that followed us could probably destroy our entire fleet by itself." And Vexstar mentioned that they could sterilize our planet. 30 days, the president said softly. "They're giving us 30 days to surrender everything we've worked for." Admiral Johnson stood up. "Madam President, I recommend we begin immediate military preparations. We can't let them threaten us like this." "With what?" Dr. Foster asked. "Our biggest ship has maybe 50 crew members. Theirs had thousands. We're not ready for a war with an advanced alien civilization." President Carter turned back to face the room. Her eyes were hard with determination. "Maybe we're not ready," she said, "but that doesn't mean we're going to surrender. Humanity didn't come this far by giving up when things got difficult. We've faced extinction before and survived. We'll survive this too." She looked at each person in the room. "I want every scientist, every engineer, every military officer working on this problem. We have 30 days to figure out how to defend our world and our freedom. I don't care how impossible it seems. We're going to find a way." As the meeting ended and people began to leave, Jake stayed behind. President Carter noticed and waited for him to speak. "Madam President," he said, "there's something else. During the trip back, I heard some of their communications. They're not just threatening us, they're afraid of us." "Afraid? Why would they be afraid of us?" Jake thought carefully about his words. "I think we do something they don't expect. Something that scares them. Maybe that's our advantage." President Carter nodded slowly. "Then we better figure out what that something is. Fast." Outside, the alien ship waited in space, counting down the days until humanity would have to choose between freedom and survival. Captain Jake Morrison found himself in a strange room aboard the alien ship. The walls glowed with a soft blue light, and everything felt cold. Ambassador Vexstar had told him he was a guest, but Jake knew he was really a prisoner. The aliens wanted to watch him while they waited for Earth's answer. His guard was a young alien who looked different from the others. Where Vexstar had blue skin, this one had silver skin that seemed to shine. She had introduced herself as Kethra of the Andromedan people. "Your species interests me," Kethra said during one of their conversations. "Most races surrender immediately when the council makes demands, but your people seem different." Jake sat on the hard bench that served as his bed. "We don't like being told what to do, especially by people we just met." "That could get you all killed," Kethra warned, but Jake heard something else in her voice. It sounded almost like admiration. "Maybe," Jake said, "but living as prisoners isn't really living at all." Back on Earth, the entire planet was working like never before. President Carter had announced the alien threat to the world, and every nation had agreed to work together. Old enemies became allies overnight when faced with extinction. Admiral Pete Johnson stood in the new command center, built deep underground. Screens showed construction projects happening all over the solar system. "How long until the orbital platforms are ready?" he asked. Colonel Ryan Brooks, the man in charge of building the space defenses, checked his tablet. "The first platform will be online in 18 days. The others will take longer." "We don't have longer," Johnson said. "Speed up the work." In another part of the command center, Commander Lisa Grant was designing new fighter ships. The old designs were too slow and weak to fight alien technology. She needed something fast and deadly. "The new fighters will be smaller than our current ships," she explained to a group of engineers. "They'll carry nuclear missiles and move in groups. If we can't match their big ships, we'll swarm them with small ones." Meanwhile, in Russia, engineer Alexei Petrov was working with American physicist Dr. Kevin White on shield technology. They had studied the alien ship that followed the Terra Nova and noticed something important. "Their shields work differently than ours," Dr. White explained. "They stop energy weapons very well, but they might not stop solid objects moving fast enough." Petrov smiled. "So we build guns that shoot metal instead of lasers." Dr. Amy Foster was having the most important breakthrough of all. She had been studying every detail of the alien ship's design and found something the council didn't expect anyone to notice. "They're not innovators," she told President Carter during a private meeting. "Their technology is thousands of years old. They've stopped improving because they haven't faced a real challenge in so long." "What does that mean for us?" Carter asked. "It means they think in patterns. They expect their enemies to fight the same way everyone else does. But we don't know their rules, so we won't follow them." Foster pulled up a diagram on her computer. "Look at their ship movements. They always travel in perfect formations. They always attack from the front. They always use the same strategies. We can use that against them." Captain Kate Sullivan was testing humanity's newest weapon in the asteroid belt. Her ship, the Defiance, was the first human vessel designed specifically for war. It was smaller than the Terra Nova, but much faster and more dangerous. Beginning micro-jump test, she announced to her crew. The ship disappeared from one location and instantly appeared 1,000 miles away. This was something no council species had ever developed, the ability to make tiny, faster-than-light jumps in the middle of a battle. Lieutenant Commander Ben Rogers was her best pilot. He flew a new type of fighter that used artificial intelligence to help with targeting. The AI could think faster than any human, but it was controlled by human creativity and unpredictability. "The aliens fight like they're following a script," Rogers told his squadron. "We're going to improvise." On the alien ship, Jake was learning more about the council every day. Kethra seemed lonely and enjoyed talking to him. Through their conversations, he discovered important information. "The council has never lost a war," she told him. "In 10,000 years, no species has ever successfully resisted them." "What happens to the species that try?" Jake asked. Kethra's silver skin seemed too dim. "They are eliminated completely. The council believes that disobedient species are a disease that must be removed." "That's horrible," Jake said. "That's order," Kethra replied, but she didn't sound like she believed it. "The galaxy has been peaceful for millennia because the council maintains control. But what about freedom? What about the right to choose your own path?" Kethra was quiet for a long time. Finally, she said, "My people asked those questions once, before we joined the council." Jake understood. The Andromedans had been conquered too. They had just been prisoners for so long that they had forgotten what freedom felt like. As the days passed, more alien ships arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system. The council was gathering a massive fleet to enforce their ultimatum. War Master Thyax of the Draconian hegemony commanded 200 ships, each one larger and more powerful than anything humanity had ever built. "The humans have 10 days left," Thyax announced to his captains. "After that, we will cleanse their system and claim it for the council." But Thyax didn't know what humans had been building in those 20 days. Hidden bases in the asteroid belt. New weapons that the Council had never seen. Most importantly, a determination to fight that the aliens couldn't understand. President Carter called one final meeting with her top advisors. The room was tense, as everyone waited for her decision. "The aliens are expecting us to surrender," she said. "They've probably already divided up our solar system among themselves. They think we're just another primitive species that will bow to their threats." Admiral Johnson nodded. "Our intelligence suggests they've done this hundreds of times before. They make demands, the species surrenders, and the Council adds another territory to their empire. But we're not like the other species," Dr. Foster added. "We've been fighting each other for thousands of years. We know how to adapt, how to survive, how to win against impossible odds." President Carter stood up and walked to a window. In the distance, she could see construction crews working on defensive positions. People all over the world were preparing for war. "I've made my decision," she said. "We will not surrender. We will not accept their limitations. If they want to take our freedom, they'll have to fight for it." Admiral Johnson smiled grimly. "What are your orders, Madam President?" "Activate all defensive systems, deploy the fleet, and prepare a message for the Galactic Council." The message was simple and direct. President Carter herself recorded it, speaking not just to the aliens but to every human who would hear it. To the Galactic Council: "You have threatened to destroy humanity unless we accept permanent imprisonment in our own solar system. You believe we will surrender because you are larger and more advanced than we are. You are wrong. Earth does not kneel. We choose freedom over safety, dignity over survival. If you want to destroy us, come and try. But know that we will fight with everything we have, and we will make you pay for every inch of space you take from us." The message was broadcast across the galaxy. On his prison ship, Jake Morrison heard it and smiled. On her command deck, Captain Sullivan felt pride swell in her chest. In his fighter, Ben Rogers checked his weapons one more time. The Council fleet received the message and was shocked. No species had ever refused their ultimatum. War Master Thyax couldn't believe what he was hearing. "They choose to die rather than surrender?" he asked his officers. "It appears so, War Master," one of them replied. Thyax had fought many battles, but always against species that were trying to escape or hide. He had never faced an enemy that was actively seeking a fight. "Very well," he said. "If they want war, they will have it. Begin the advance." As the Council fleet moved toward Earth, humanity prepared for the greatest battle in their history. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and facing technology they barely understood. But they had something the Council had forgotten existed: the willingness to fight for what they believed in, no matter the cost. The war was about to begin. The 30 days were over. War Master Thyax looked at his fleet of 200 ships and felt confident. In 10,000 years, the Galactic Council had never lost a war. Today would be no different. "Begin the advance," he ordered. "Target their orbital platforms first, then move to the planet itself." But as his ships moved into the solar system, something unexpected happened. The human fleet didn't retreat to defend Earth. Instead, they moved toward the aliens, ready to fight. Captain Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching the enemy ships approach. Her small fleet of 20 vessels looked tiny compared to the alien armada, but she felt no fear. "All ships, this is Sullivan. Remember what we practiced: fast, hard, and unpredictable. Make them remember this day." The first battle took place near Neptune. Sullivan's fleet faced off against a Council scouting force of 30 ships. The aliens expected an easy victory, but they were about to learn that humans fight differently than anyone else. "Enemy ships approaching," reported Lieutenant Tony Miller from the Defiance's sensor station. "They're moving in perfect formation, just like Dr. Foster predicted. Sullivan smiled. Perfect formations make perfect targets. Begin micro-jump sequence. The human ships suddenly vanished and reappeared right in the middle of the alien formation. The Council ships had never seen anything like it. Their weapons were designed to hit targets at long range, not enemies that could appear anywhere at any time. Lieutenant Commander Ben Rogers launched from the Defiance in his fighter, Raptor 1. Behind him flew 11 other pilots, each one ready to die for Earth. Raptor Squadron, remember your training, he called over the radio. The AI will help you target, but trust your instincts. These aliens have never fought anyone like us. The human fighters moved like angry wasps, darting between the massive alien ships. They fired nuclear-tipped missiles that tore through energy shields designed to stop laser weapons. The Council ships, built for fighting at a distance, couldn't hit the small, fast human craft. But the aliens had powerful weapons too. Captain Sullivan watched as 2 of her ships exploded under alien fire. Each ship carried 50 crew members, who would never see Earth again. Defiance to all ships, she called. Continue the attack. Make their sacrifice count. The battle raged for 3 hours. When it was over, 10 Council ships were destroyed or disabled, but 12 human ships were gone too. The aliens had expected to lose nothing. War Master Thyax stared at the battle reports in disbelief. How did they destroy our ships? Their technology is primitive. His tactical officer, a reptilian draconian named Krekstar, examined the data. They use kinetic weapons instead of energy weapons, War Master. Their missiles are nuclear-powered, and their movement patterns, they make no sense. What do you mean? They don't follow any logical strategy. Each ship acts independently. They improvise constantly. Our defensive systems can't predict their next move because they don't seem to know it themselves. Thyax had fought hundreds of battles, but always against enemies who followed the same basic rules of space combat. The humans seemed to ignore all those rules. On the human side, the victory was bittersweet. Captain Sullivan had proven that they could hurt the Council, but at a terrible cost. Half her fleet was gone, and the main alien army was still coming back. On Earth, Admiral Johnson watched the battle reports with mixed feelings. We won the first fight, he told President Carter. But we can't keep trading ships like this. They have too many. Dr. Foster had been working on a new weapon during the battle. I think I have something, she announced. The aliens use computer networks to coordinate their ships. If we can get a virus into their system, we might be able to turn their own ships against each other. How do we deliver the virus? Carter asked. Someone has to get close enough to upload it directly into one of their command ships. It would be a suicide mission. Lieutenant Emma Davis volunteered immediately. She was a cybernetics specialist who understood both human and alien computer systems. I'll do it, she said simply. Meanwhile, in space near Jupiter, Ben Rogers was leading a new kind of attack. His squadron had been refitted with special equipment that let them hack into alien computer systems while fighting. Raptor leader to Raptor Squadron, he called as they approached another group of Council ships. Remember, we're not just trying to destroy them, we're trying to learn how they think. The human fighters danced around the alien vessels, recording everything. How they moved, how they communicated, how they made decisions. All of this information was sent back to Earth, where Dr. Foster and her team analyzed it. What they discovered changed everything. The Council species don't just fight the same way, Foster explained to a group of military officers. They think the same way. They've been using the same strategies for so long that they can't adapt to new situations. Colonel Ryan Brooks looked at the data. So if we can break their pattern once, they won't know how to respond. Exactly. They're like a computer program that can only follow its coding. But we're unpredictable. We change our tactics constantly because we have to. It's the only way we've survived as a species. This revelation led to a new strategy. Instead of trying to match the Council's firepower, humans would confuse and overwhelm them with chaos. Captain Kate Sullivan, now commanding a new ship called Retribution, led the next major attack. This time the human fleet didn't fight as a group. Each ship acted independently, hitting the aliens from unexpected directions. The Council ships tried to respond, but their coordinated tactics fell apart when faced with true randomness. Human ships would appear, attack, and vanish before the aliens could react. Sometimes they fought alone, sometimes in groups. Sometimes they would retreat only to attack from behind. War Master Thyax grew increasingly frustrated. How do we fight an enemy that has no strategy? Perhaps that is their strategy, War Master, suggested Krekstar. Chaos itself. The turning point came when Lieutenant Davis succeeded in her suicide mission. She piloted a small shuttle directly into the docking bay of a Council command ship. The aliens captured her, but not before she uploaded Dr. Foster's virus into their computer network. The virus spread through the Council fleet like a disease. Ships began firing on each other, confused by false targeting data. Formation commanders gave contradictory orders. The perfect coordination that had made the Council invincible for 10,000 years suddenly became their weakness. In the middle of the chaos, Captain Sullivan led the human fleet in a desperate attack on the Council's main force near Mars. She knew this might be humanity's only chance to win. All ships, this is Sullivan. The aliens are confused and divided. We hit them now with everything we have. The battle near Mars lasted 6 hours and was the bloodiest fight in human history. Both sides lost dozens of ships. Space around the red planet became a graveyard of twisted metal and burning debris. But when the smoke cleared, humanity had won. Over half the Council fleet was destroyed or disabled. The survivors were retreating toward the edge of the solar system, no longer the confident conquerors who had arrived 30 days earlier. War Master Thyax could barely believe what had happened. His massive fleet, which had never known defeat, had been beaten by a species that barely knew how to fight in space. War Master, reported Krekstar, we're receiving a communication from the human fleet. Put it through. Captain Sullivan's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired but determined. War Master Thyax, this is Captain Kate Sullivan of the Earth Defense Force. Your fleet is broken. Your ships are fleeing. I'm giving you one chance to surrender. Thyax stared at the human woman who had destroyed his fleet. You don't understand what you've done, he said. The Council will not allow this defeat to stand. They will send more ships, bigger ships. They will not stop until your species is extinct. Sullivan's expression didn't change. Then we'll be ready for them too. We've learned something important today. You can be beaten, and once other species learn that, your empire is finished. As the surviving Council ships retreated, the humans began to realize what they had accomplished. Not only had they saved Earth, but they had done something no species had managed in 10,000 years. They had defeated the Galactic Council in open battle. On the alien prison ship, Jake Morrison felt the vibrations as the vessel prepared to jump to hyperspace. Kethra appeared at his cell door, looking shocked. Your species? She said quietly. They actually won. Jake smiled. I told you we were different. The Council will never accept this, Kethra warned. They'll send everything they have. Then we'll beat everything they have. Jake replied confidently. As the Council ships fled the solar system, humanity began to understand that the war was far from over. But they had proven something important to themselves and to the galaxy. Humans could not be conquered, could not be caged, and would never stop fighting for their freedom. The real war was just beginning. News of the Council's defeat spread across the galaxy like wildfire. For the first time in 10,000 years, someone had beaten the mighty Galactic Council in battle. Species that had been enslaved for millennia began to whisper about rebellion. The Council's response was swift and brutal. Supreme Commander Overlord Zethmer, leader of all Council forces, gathered the largest fleet in galactic history. Over 1,000 ships from 12 different species, armed with weapons that could destroy entire star systems. The humans have embarrassed us, Zethmer announced to his war council. They have shown other species that we can be defeated. This cannot be allowed to continue. We will not just destroy their fleet this time. We will erase every trace of human existence from the galaxy. On Earth, Admiral Johnson watched the reports coming in from their spy networks. The numbers were terrifying. They're bringing everything they have, he told President Carter. Our entire fleet couldn't fight even a quarter of what they're sending. But humanity had learned something important from their first victory. They didn't need to match the Council's strength. They just needed to be smarter. Dr. Foster had been working day and night on new weapons and strategies. We can't fight them, ship to ship, she explained. But we don't have to. We fight them the same way we've always fought superior enemies throughout history. Guerrilla warfare, said Colonel Sarah Martinez, humanity's new chief military strategist. Hit-and-run attacks. Strike where they're weak, disappear before they can respond. The plan was called Protocol Omega, and it was humanity's most desperate strategy yet. Instead of defending Earth directly, human ships would spread throughout the solar system and beyond, attacking Council supply lines and support ships. Captain Nick Thompson had taken command of a new Terra Nova, built from the wreckage of alien ships. His mission was to lead raids deep into Council territory, disrupting their supply chains and gathering intelligence. Remember, he told his crew, as they prepared for their first mission, we're not trying to destroy their entire fleet. We're trying to make them afraid to leave their bases. Thompson's ship was equipped with the latest human technology, including improved micro-jump drives that could move the ship thousands of miles in an instant. They also carried a new type of weapon that Dr. Foster had developed specifically for fighting the Council. Plasma torpedoes, she had explained. They're designed to overload alien shield systems. One direct hit should disable any Council ship, no matter how big. The human raids began 3 weeks before the main Council fleet arrived. Thompson and 5 other captains led their ships into alien space, attacking supply convoys and communication stations. The first target was a Council fuel depot near Alpha Centauri. Thompson's ship appeared without warning, fired its new weapons, and disappeared before the alien defenders could respond. The depot, which supplied fuel for dozens of Council ships, was completely destroyed. Terra Nova to Earth Command, Thompson reported, mission successful. Enemy fuel supplies reduced by approximately 15%. But the most important discovery came when Thompson's crew analyzed the wreckage. They found something that changed everything they knew about the Council. The aliens aren't just following old strategies, reported Dr. Kevin White, the physicist working with Thompson's team. Their technology is actually getting worse, not better. These ships are less advanced than the ones we fought before. Back on Earth, Dr. Foster studied the data and realized what was happening. They've become completely dependent on their existing technology, she explained. They haven't improved anything in thousands of years because they haven't needed to. They're like a muscle that's been unused for so long, it's starting to weaken. This discovery led to an even bolder plan. If the Council couldn't adapt to new situations, then humanity would create the most chaotic situation possible. Admiral Johnson implemented the new strategy immediately. Human ships stopped following any predictable patterns. Some attacked alone, others in groups. Some fought conventional battles, others used completely new tactics that no one had ever seen before. Captain Sullivan, now commanding a fleet of 30 ships, led an attack on a Council communications hub, but instead of just destroying it, her ships captured it and began sending false orders to Council fleets across the galaxy. Tell the Zephyrian ships to attack the Draconian ships, she ordered her communications officer. Make it look like the orders are coming from high command. The false orders worked better than anyone had hoped. Confusion spread through the council fleet as different species began to suspect each other of treachery. Ships that had fought together for thousands of years suddenly turned their weapons on their allies. But the council wasn't completely helpless. Overlord Zethmer realized what the humans were doing and began to adapt. He started using older, simpler communication methods that were harder for humans to intercept. The humans are clever, he admitted to his officers, but cleverness cannot overcome overwhelming force. When our main fleet arrives, we will crush them through sheer numbers. On the prison ship carrying Jake Morrison, things were changing too. The defeat at Mars had shaken the confidence of the alien crew. Many of them had never seen the Council lose a battle before. Kethra visited Jake more frequently now, and their conversations had become more honest. "My people are talking about surrender," she told him quietly. "To who?" Jake asked. "To your species? Some of us think the humans might be better rulers than the Council." Jake was shocked. "We don't want to rule anyone. We just want to be free." "That's what makes you different," Kethra said. "The Council rules through fear, but your species, you inspire others to fight for themselves." This conversation gave Jake an idea. If some Council species were losing faith in their leaders, maybe they could be convinced to switch sides entirely. "Kethra," he said carefully, "what would happen if one of the Council species decided to leave the Council?" "It's never happened before," she replied. "The punishment would be total annihilation. But what if they weren't alone? What if several species left at the same time?" Kethra was quiet for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. "That would be revolution." Meanwhile, Earth was preparing for the final battle. The orbital defense platforms were complete, armed with weapons based on captured alien technology. The human fleet, though small, was now more advanced than it had ever been. Lieutenant Commander Ben Rogers had been promoted to squadron leader and was training new pilots on the latest fighters. These ships were faster and deadlier than anything humans had built before, powered by hybrid human-alien technology. The key to fighting the Council, he taught his students, is to never do what they expect. If they think you're going to attack, retreat. If they think you're going to retreat, attack. Keep them guessing, and you'll keep them off balance. Dr. Foster made one final breakthrough just days before the Council fleet arrived. She had been studying the alien communication virus and found a way to make it even more effective. The new version doesn't just confuse their computers, she explained. It makes them question their own sensors. They won't be able to tell what's real and what isn't. President Carter looked at the preparations and felt both pride and fear. Humanity had come so far in such a short time, but they were still facing impossible odds. "How many ships will we have for the final battle?" she asked Admiral Johnson. "About 150, including the orbital platforms." "They'll have over 1,000, and you think we can win?" Johnson was quiet for a moment. "I think we can make them regret ever threatening us." The massive Council fleet finally arrived at the edge of the solar system. Overlord Zethmer looked at Earth through his flagship's view screen and felt satisfaction. This time, there would be no mistakes. "Begin the final advance," he ordered. "Show these humans what happens when they defy the Council." But as his ships moved toward Earth, strange things began to happen. Some ships reported engine failures. Others claimed their weapons weren't working properly. Communication between different parts of the fleet became difficult. What Zethmer didn't know was that human agents, led by freed prisoners like Jake Morrison, had spent weeks sabotaging Council ships from the inside. The virus that Dr. Foster had created was spreading through the enemy fleet like a plague. Captain Thompson and his raiders had also been busy. They had destroyed supply depots, communications stations, and repair facilities throughout Council space. The massive alien fleet was running low on fuel and replacement parts. Most importantly, the humans had convinced 3 council species to secretly switch sides. The Andromedans, led by Kethra, had decided they preferred human freedom to council slavery. 2 other species, tired of being ruled by fear, had joined them as the council fleet entered the inner solar system. They found themselves facing not just human ships, but rebels from their own alliance. The galaxy's greatest empire was beginning to tear itself apart. The final battle was about to begin, and for the first time in 10,000 years, the outcome was truly uncertain. The final battle began at dawn on Earth. Overlord Zethmer led his massive fleet of over 1,000 ships toward the blue planet, confident that this time humanity would be crushed completely. But as his ships moved into position, everything started going wrong. "Supreme Commander," reported his tactical officer, "the Andromedan ships are not responding to orders." "What do you mean?" Zethmer demanded. "They've turned off their communication systems. And sir, they're moving away from the fleet." At that moment, 300 Andromedan ships suddenly changed course and began attacking their former allies. Led by Kethra, who had convinced her people to join the human cause, they struck at the council fleet's supply ships. "This is Kethra of the Free Andromedan Fleet," she announced on all frequencies. "We no longer serve the council. We choose freedom." Zethmer was furious. "Destroy the traitors," he ordered. But the confusion was just beginning. Dr. Foster's computer virus had infected the council's main communication network. Ships began receiving contradictory orders. Some were told to attack Earth, others to retreat. The perfect coordination that had made the council invincible for millennia was falling apart. On Earth, General Matt Harrison coordinated the planet's defenses from his underground command center. The orbital platforms were fully armed and ready. The human fleet, though outnumbered 10 to 1, was prepared to fight to the death. "All units, this is command," Harrison announced. "Remember what we're fighting for. This is our home. This is our future. Make every shot count." Captain Kate Sullivan commanded the human fleet from her new flagship, the Retribution. Around her, 150 human ships prepared for the greatest battle in their history. "Sullivan to all ships," she called. "We've proven we can beat them before. Today, we prove it again. Attack pattern random, as always. Keep them guessing." The human ships scattered in all directions, refusing to fight in the organized formations that the council expected. Some attacked the alien flanks, others hit them from behind. A few brave pilots flew their fighters directly at the massive enemy flagships. Lieutenant Commander Ben Rogers led Raptor Squadron in a desperate attack on Zethmer's personal ship. The massive vessel was 3 times larger than Earth's biggest battleship, but Rogers had learned that size wasn't everything. "Raptor leader to squadron," he called as they dodged alien fire. "Target the engine ports. These big ships can't fight if they can't move." His fighters swarmed around the flagship like angry insects, their nuclear missiles tearing holes in the ship's armor. The council had never faced pilots willing to fly this close to enemy vessels, and their defensive systems couldn't track such small, fast targets. But the aliens weren't helpless. Zethmer's ship fired back with weapons that could vaporize a human fighter with one shot. Rogers watched 3 of his pilots disappear in bright flashes of light. "Keep attacking," he ordered, even as enemy fire filled the space around him. For Earth. Meanwhile, Captain Nick Thompson was leading a different kind of battle inside the council fleet itself. His ship, invisible to alien sensors thanks to new stealth technology, moved between enemy vessels like a ghost. Thompson to Harrison, he reported. "I'm in position near their command ship, beginning virus upload." Thompson's crew had spent weeks preparing for this moment. They launched a special probe that attached itself to Zethmer's flagship and began uploading the most powerful computer virus Dr. Foster had ever created. The virus spread through the council's entire fleet in minutes. Ship computers began showing false information. Weapon systems turned off randomly. Navigation computers gave wrong directions. The technological advantage that the Council had relied on for thousands of years became a weakness. On his flagship, Zethmer watched in horror as his perfect fleet descended into chaos. Ships collided with each other. Some vessels began firing on their own allies. Others simply stopped working entirely. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Our technology is supposed to be perfect." His tactical officer, a draconian named Krekstar, studied the data streams. "Sir, it appears the humans have infected our entire computer network. Our systems are turning against us." Zethmer realized he was facing something no council, commander, had ever encountered, an enemy that could turn their own weapons against them. But the Supreme Commander had one final weapon. Deep in his flagship was a planet-killer device that could destroy entire worlds. If he couldn't conquer Earth, he would make sure no one could. "Activate the World Killer," he ordered. "If we can't have this system, neither can they." However, Jake Morrison and a team of human commandos had been waiting for this moment. They had infiltrated the flagship weeks earlier, hidden among the chaos of the battle. Now they moved through the ship's corridors, fighting their way to the weapons. "Control room, this is Morrison," he reported over his radio. "We're at the Planet Killer. Beginning shutdown sequence." The battle for the weapons control room was fierce. Council soldiers, desperate to complete their mission, fought against humans who knew that failure meant the death of their entire species. Jake and his team were outnumbered, but they had something the aliens didn't: the willingness to sacrifice everything for victory. One by one, his commandos fell to enemy fire, but they kept fighting. "Morrison to all teams," Jake called as he reached the weapons controls. "I'm shutting it down, but I won't be able to get out. Tell Earths that we bought them time." But before Jake could sacrifice himself, Kethra appeared with a squad of Andromedan soldiers. "We've got your back," she said simply. Together, humans and their new allies destroyed the Planet Killer and fought their way back to safety. Outside, the space battle was reaching its climax. The Council fleet, damaged by computer viruses and internal rebellion, was finally beginning to break apart. Ships that had fought together for millennia were now firing on each other. Captain Sullivan saw her chance. "All human ships, concentrate fire on their flagship. If we can take down their commander, the rest will fall apart." Every human weapon in the solar system focused on Zethmer's ship. Nuclear missiles, plasma cannons, and kinetic weapons all struck the massive vessel at once. The flagship's shields, already weakened by the computer virus, finally failed. Zethmer felt his ship shaking apart around him. 10,000 years of Council dominance was ending, and it was ending at the hands of a species they had thought was primitive. "This is impossible," he said as his bridge filled with smoke. "We are the Council. We cannot be defeated." Supreme Commander Krekstar reported, "The ship is breaking apart. We need to evacuate." But Zethmer refused to accept defeat. As his flagship died around him, he sent one final message to the remaining Council ships: "All vessels, retreat. The humans have won this battle, but the war is not over." The surviving Council ships, less than half of the original fleet, jumped to hyperspace and fled the solar system. For the first time in galactic history, the mighty Council had been completely defeated. In the aftermath of the battle, space around Earth was filled with debris from both fleets. Thousands of brave souls from both sides had died, but humanity had survived. President Carter addressed not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. To all species listening to this message, the Galactic Council told us we had to choose between slavery and death. We chose a third option. We chose freedom. The Council claimed they brought peace to the galaxy, but peace built on fear and oppression is not real peace. Today, we offer true peace to any species willing to join us as equals, not subjects. The message spread across the galaxy faster than the retreating Council ships. Species that had been enslaved for millennia began to rebel. The Andromedan Rebellion, led by Ketra, inspired others to fight for their freedom. Within a year, the Galactic Council's empire had collapsed. Some species joined the new human alliance, while others chose to govern themselves. For the first time in 10,000 years, the galaxy was truly free. Jake Morrison, now an admiral in the human Space Force, stood on the bridge of a new exploration ship. Beside him, Kethra served as his diplomatic officer, helping to build bridges between humans and other species. "Where to next?" she asked. Jake looked at the star charts, showing the unexplored regions beyond former Council space. Humanity's dream of exploring the galaxy was finally becoming reality. "Everywhere," he said with a smile. "We have a lot of catching up to do." The Council had sent a threat, demanding humanity's surrender. Earth had replied with a message of total war. But in the end, humanity's greatest victory wasn't defeating their enemies. It was showing the galaxy that freedom was worth fighting for, no matter the odds. The age of the Council was over. The age of freedom had begun.